attending the province SOPAs. And then also, I'd like to inform the honorable members and the Honorable Deputy President that this is a very important day for one of the very important persons in the House, and that is the Chief Whip, who is celebrating his birthday today. And on behalf of everybody, we wish you a very happy birthday, good health, peace and prosperity, Honorable Chief Whip. Thank you. Honorable delegates, I would like to remind delegates that the rules, in particular sub-rules 21, 22, and 23 of Rule 103 would apply. Honorable delegates, in accordance with Council Rule 2291, there will be no motions. There will be no notices of motions or motions without notice. Honorable delegates, before I proceed to questions, I would like to take this opportunity to officially welcome the Deputy President to the NCOP. Honorable Deputy President, it's always very, very appropriate to have you in the House answering questions, and we appreciate the fact that you make the time to honor this engagement. I also welcome all the permanent delegates, MECs, and special delegates in the House, and those that will be joining us on the virtual platform. Further, I'd like to remind delegates that in terms of Rule 229 of the Council rules, the time for reply by the Deputy President to a question is 5 minutes. Only 4 supplementary questions are allowed per question. A member who was asked the initial question would be the first to be afforded an opportunity to ask a supplementary question. The time for asking a supplementary question is 2 minutes. The time for reply to a supplementary question is 4 minutes. The supplementary question must emanate from the initial question. Honorable delegates, I now call upon the Deputy President to respond to question number 1 that was asked by the Honorable Moimang, and the question deals with the decline/collapse of the rail transport system. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, let me thank Honorable Muima for raising this important matter concerning the decline of the rail transport system in our country, and also join this House in wishing him a happy birthday and many more happy years and productive years. Honorable Deputy Chairperson, we are currently implementing rapid response interventions to address service delivery challenges to troubleshoot disruptions identified in the service delivery hotspots. We have prioritized stronger intergovernmental coordination, improved planning, and more effective execution across the spheres of government to restore the performance of critical economic infrastructure, including rail. In this regard, we continuously engage the relevant ministers, including Public Works and Infrastructure, Transport, Water and Sanitation, and COCTA, to reinforce the upgrading and safeguarding of strategic infrastructure that underpins economic activity and job creation. Honorable Deputy Chairperson, government has already committed resources towards restoring rail and logistics capability. The Minister of Finance announced an allocation of 21.9 billion rand to the budget facility for infrastructure, targeted at major infrastructure projects, including Transnet's coal and iron ore corridor upgrades aimed at restoring rail capacity on these corridors. Government is also capacitating PRASA to implement its corridor recovery program and modernize rail service infrastructure. By the end of 2025, PRASA had commissioned 35 of the 40 passenger corridors and achieved an audited annual figure of 77 million passenger journeys. On long-distance passenger rail services, PRASA's long-distance passenger division plans to reintroduce mainline passenger services in the 2026-27 financial year, subject to funding availability and locomotive readiness. This will include Johannesburg-Durban, Johannesburg-Queenstown, East London, Johannesburg-Cape Town, and Johannesburg-Musina, Cape Town-Queenstown. PRASA is further rolling out thousands of kilometers of fiber optic as part of its new signaling system through private sector partnership to strengthen safety and real-time communication across the rail network. Honorable members, the Transnet Rail Infrastructure Manager, in collaboration with the Department of Transport and our strategic partners, is prioritizing the productive utilization of rail infrastructure and associated assets that have been underutilized, vandalized, or inactive for prolonged periods. This work includes the revival of critical rail services that supports agriculture, mining, manufacturing hubs, and rural trading towns that rely heavily on rail connectivity. Furthermore, through Operation Vulindlela, government is fast-tracking structural reforms aimed at modernizing our rail and logistics infrastructure. This includes opening the rail network to third-party operators to enhance efficiency and competition, as well as accelerating the rehabilitation of passenger rail services to improve mobility, safety, and economic participation of our citizens. Finally, the President announced infrastructure investment program of 500 billion rand over the next 3 years, of which 120 billion is ring-fenced for transport infrastructure, including freight, rail rehabilitation, port efficiency upgrades, and road network maintenance. I thank you, Honorable Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. Honorable Moimang, do you have a follow-up question?
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Greetings to ourselves, the DP, and also esteemed members of this House. Secondly, also my heartfelt gratitude to the warmly birthday wishes from yourself and the DP and my colleagues. Deputy Chair, allow me to express my gratitude to the DP, Deputy President, for the comprehensive reply, which demonstrates the government's decision to fully restore the rail transport system and maximizing its benefit to provincial and local economies. My supplementary question is, how far is the process of accelerating the concessioning of railway infrastructure and lines, given the fact that the Deputy President made reference to it, so that we're able to understand how do we ensure that the underutilized rail lines are maximized for local economic activities such as tourism, and also reconnecting local industries such as agriculture. Thank you, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Moimang. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chairperson. Honorable Moimang, you'll recall that there is a policy that was adopted in 2022, which is called National Rail Policy. So what is happening now is that most of the work has now moved to implementation phase. So what is happening at the moment is that there's a lot of completion of design and operational rollout in all the corridors, because we appreciate the fact that this infrastructure has been declining for a while now. So that's what transport is focusing on. What transport has also done now is to bring in the private sector in the main to ensure that those particularly who are involved in freight can put infrastructure for freight logistics, because many of these are mining companies and so on who are using this infrastructure. So at the moment, about 11 of these companies who are major freight companies have now been enlisted, and work is continuing just to finalize the contracts, and they will start then doing work on these corridors. So that's what's going to happen, that we will now have more capacity that is brought to bear by the involvement of the private sector. And therefore, it will then deal with this decline that we have been seeing over the years that you are raising. I'm confident that with the plans that government has put in place, additional resources, plus private sector involvement, that we will be able to begin to correct this situation and make sure that rail infrastructure once again begin to be at its best, to be able to contribute to our work of growing the economy and creating jobs in the country. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. We now go to the follow-up question number 2, and that is from Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Chair. Good afternoon, DP.
Afternoon.
Honourable Deputy Chair, it is frankly insulting that at every single opportunity, the President and the Deputy President are asked about passenger rail, specifically long-distance passenger rail, and the progress on the front. It is insulting because in the SONA 2019, the President stated, "We should imagine a country where bullet trains pass through Johannesburg as they travel from here to Messina, and they stop in Buffalo City on their way from eThekwini back here." Then, Honourable Deputy Chair, in his SONA 2026, the President again stated, "We continue with preparations for the introduction of high-speed rail, covering routes such as Johannesburg to Messina and eThekwini to Johannesburg." Same old story. Passenger rail, Deputy President, should be the backbone of commuting our people. But 7 years later, we are continuing with these preparations, as the President says, and you have highlighted it again today. So my question, Deputy Chair, why would the plans that you have now outlined change the lived reality of so many who cannot make use of long-distance passenger rail 7 years after being promised this to the people of South Africa? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Boshoff. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Honorable Boshoff, as I said earlier in my response, that in its 2026-27 financial year, PRASA is going to be focusing on these corridors: Johannesburg to Durban, Johannesburg, Queenstown, East London. All this is passenger rail. Johannesburg, Cape Town, Johannesburg, Messina, Cape Town, Queenstown, because we know these are the corridors where many of our people are using the trains. So this work, as I said, has started. It has been funded, and as we speak now, plans are being finalized to ensure that this work is rolled out. You can keep us accountable for that and keep checking the progress, but work is starting now to ensure that we do provide our people with this much needed road system, because they are using the trains, and therefore we need to make sure that this is going to be done. As I said earlier, the President indicated that 500 billion rand will be used over the next 3 years for this work. So there is no money problem. It's a question of implementation, and it has started. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Mampuru.
Deputy Chair, we submitted, the front table got Fighter Gerek, Honorable Gerek, that will take the question of Honorable Mampuru. We submitted to the front table, and there are changes.
Are you talking to each other again?
All right, thank you very much. I think Honorable Gereka, follow-up question, please.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Deputy President, the collapse of the rail system has forced over 1 million of daily commuters to rely on more expensive and less safe alternative modes of transportation. Given that areas close to railway stations have suffered business closures, job losses, and severe economic decline due to the collapse of a long-distance passenger and freight rail service, what is the exact date which you will restore the Socialoza mail and other services so that black-owned businesses can once again put bread on the table? And secondly, can you tell us exactly how many times you have sat down these incompetent ministers to force them to treat this as a national emergency? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Gereka. Deputy President, your response.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair, Honorable Gereka. The plans that have been submitted to us by the current Minister of Transport, Minister Barbara Creasy, are very sound, and we are convinced with the President that we are on the right path now to fix this challenge. You are quite right that when the trains are not working properly, the stations are not in order and not upgraded, it does affect nearby areas. So that's true. So as we begin with this rollout of fixing our passenger rail corridors, all the corridors, the work around this station will also be taking off, because people will start once again to invest in these areas with whether they are selling goods and other services. We will see that returning. So that's why I was emphasizing earlier that as you sort out these corridors and reinvesting in your rail system, particularly passenger rail in this regard, you are also contributing to growth and the creation of jobs because, of course, of the economic activity that happens around train stations. A lot of economic activity around stations. So we are quite happy that this work has now started in earnest, and the President has indicated to all the ministers that they are going to be subjected to periodic reviews, as we are doing at the moment with the President. We are meeting all the ministers, checking how far they are with the plans that have been approved. If there are problems, why are those why is there such problem, and what are their plans to fix those problems? So we are monitoring the work, and we're going to make sure that indeed these are not just plans on paper, but are plans that are going to be implemented so that our commuter rail system can become the best of the best. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. The last follow-up question is from the Honorable Farmer.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair and Honorable Deputy President. Good day to you. Deputy President, considering the strategic role of rail in economic growth, job creation, and reducing logistical costs, how does government intend to leverage partnerships with the private sector to accelerate the recovery and modernization of South Africa's rail network? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Farmer. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair. Honorable Farmer, thank you very much for that question. I had already said earlier that we have taken that decision to bring in the private sector. At the moment, 11 of these companies are being enlisted, and because many of them are in that sector that requires freight logistics, because it's mining companies that are exporting chrome and other products. So they are already on board. We will finalize this first tranche of 11, and of course I'm sure we're going to see more coming forward to be able to get involved. And that will obviously ensure that those efforts supplement what government is already doing with the 500 billion that we have put out as government over the next 3 years to support rail infrastructure. These companies will also bring on board a lot of needed infrastructure to make sure that we attend to this important work. Whether you talk passenger rail or freight, I think rail is very key for the movements of goods and services and also passengers in our country. And I'm happy that this work has now started in earnest. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. We now move on to the next question that deals with the detection and prevention of corruption in the South African police services. And this question was asked by the Honorable Ryder. Honorable Deputy President, your response.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chairperson. Let me thank Honorable Ryder for this burning question on corruption in the police service. As the chair of the JCPS cluster Cabinet Committee, I wish to emphasize that the JCPS cluster remains central to ensuring a coordinated whole of government response to crime, violence, and corruption within the criminal justice system. Prior to the Madlanga Commission, measures to detect and prevent corruption within SAPS included, amongst others, the establishment of the Anti-Corruption Task Team, the rollout of integrated technology-driven case management system, particularly to reduce interference and vulnerabilities, and also strengthening forensic and investigative capability across the security environment. Honorable Chairperson, JCPS cluster continues to intensify controls and accountability through SAPS ethic management strategy, fraud and corruption prevention strategy, overseen by internal government structures, including the Ethics Committee, Risk Management Committee, and the Audit Committee. To strengthen the detection of wrongdoing, SAPS has enhanced whistleblower protection through National Instruction 18 of 2019, integrity management, enabling safe reporting through platforms such as the National Anti-Corruption Hotline, internal ethic lines, and oversight bodies, including IPID, Public Protector, and Auditor General. Operational reforms have also been undertaken to reduce opportunities for corruption, including improvement to crime scene management, enhancement of investigative capacity, and the establishment of specialized units such as the Anti-Gang Unit and the Economic Infrastructure Task Team. Technological tools, including CCTV in high-risk areas, and the integrated person management system are key components of the integrated justice system. Honorable Chairperson, SAPS continues to strengthen internal detection mechanisms through vetting and screening of prioritized categories of personnel, including senior management, service members, crime intelligence, supply chain management, and the Hawks, and those deployed to ultra-sensitive posts. These measures are supported by lifestyle reviews and financial disclosure analysis, including reactive lifestyle audits where allegations are received. Where serious allegations of fraud and corruption arise, forensic audits and criminal investigations follow, and those found guilty are prosecuted. Based on the interim findings of the Madlanga Commission indicating prima facie wrongdoing, the President already directed the Acting Minister of Police and the National Commissioner to establish a special task team to investigate criminality involving senior SAPS members and other implicated officials. The JCPS cluster will continue to ensure a coordinated action across all arms of the state so that we can uphold the rule of law and protect our communities. I thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. Follow-up question from Honorable Ryder.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson. Deputy President, you've just listed a whole lot of measures that you implemented, which indicates that possibly you knew the extent of the corruption in SAPS, but you didn't bring South Africans into your confidence by telling us about how bad it was. Or alternatively, the criminal justice system has collapsed under your watch in spite of all of these measures being put in place. Which one is it?
Thank you, Honorable Ryder. Honorable Deputy President, your response.
Well, Honorable Ryder, as I say that I want to make sure that people must not think that before the Madlanga Commission, nothing was being done. I think it's important to indicate that a lot of measures were put in place, but obviously it means we need more tightening. I think what is coming out of the Madlanga Commission is that indication to say, yes, you have all these measures, but there are still loopholes. That's why we are awaiting this recommendation from the Madlanga Commission. But with their initial report, which indicated, as I said, prima facie evidence on wrongdoing, the President has already acted to say to the Minister and the Commissioner, start the process of investigating whoever is alleged to be involved in wrongdoing and prosecute them. But obviously, we need more than just that. We need to be preventative. And I'm hoping that the recommendation from the Madlanga Commission will help us in that regard to say, here are the loopholes that you need to close. So that we mustn't wait until people have committed crimes and then we act. But the system must be such that it prevents this from happening, so that there is no opportunity for criminality in the system. And we are really awaiting these recommendations, and we will implement them as soon as the Commission is done to ensure that, this should not happen again, where there's criminality in the securities cluster, which is supposed to be protecting communities. So yes, I've mentioned a lot of measures that have been taken, but we need more tightening. Thank you, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Medupi.
Ke a leboga motlotlegi motlatsa modulasetilo, Madume Deputy President. Honorable Deputy President, you will agree with me that revelation of Madlanga Commission have tarnished
the reputation of South African police services, it is evident that restoring SAP's dignity will require decisive measures to address all allegations of corruption and to foster a new culture of ethical leadership and accountability. My question, Deputy President, is whether the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Committee, Cabinet Committee, which is mandated to establish a high-level anti-corruption policies and security strategies, has developed a plan to monitor the progress of the anti-corruption task team, the frontline implementation arm of the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cabinet Committee, in collaborating with all government agencies to expedite the investigation into senior police officials implicated at national, provincial, and local levels in corruption as outlined in the Madlanga Commission interim report. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Madupi. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chairperson. Honorable Madupi, as I indicated earlier, that a number of structures have already been established. But what we are doing, we're strengthening through the JCPS the work of net joints. As you may be aware that we do have what we call prof joints, so it's at the provincial level. Now, the net joints is a structure that involves all the security clusters. So we have the police, we have intelligence, we have correctional services, we have the South African National Defense Force. So it's really a multidisciplinary structure. So these multidisciplinary task teams are the ones that are working in collaboration to address this challenge. The anti-corruption task team, of course, is being strengthened as well. You may be aware that they've also been able to recover some funds. More than 11 billion rand has been recovered through the work of the anti-corruption task team. So I'm confident that the measures that we have outlined, including those that we will bring on board once the Madlanga Commission is done, is going to assist us to ensure that we tighten up the system and make sure that we close all the leakages that may have been there. Many of those structures are going to be strengthened, including the Investigative Directorate Against Corruption, IDEC, is one of the structures that we must strengthen going forward to be able to deal decisively with this challenge. I thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Gericka.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Comrade Deputy President, the EFF is very much concerned about the selective application or implementation of the recommendations because people that are implicated in the report have already been exempted by the President, and we are talking here about your Mr. Mkunis and so on. Exempted but yet implicated, and that's very much a big concern to us. But you stand here as the chairperson of the JCPS cluster, and yet under your very nose, Deputy President, the SAPS has turned into a criminal enterprise. What actions, if any, did you take to interrogate why high-profile dockets were being moved to Pretoria, and why did we have to wait for retired judges? That's a big concern. Their reports to fire people who have already been exposed as enemies of the people. Thank you very much, Deputy.
Thank you, Honorable Gericka. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chairperson. Honorable Gericka, as far as I'm concerned, the President has not exonerated anyone, not that I know of. So let's leave it that for now. What the President is doing was that, even with Minister Mkunu, what the President said is that he is now on leave. That doesn't mean exoneration. The President is awaiting the report of the Commission to be able to act. So I think let's wait for that, for the President to get a full report. Secondly, you are saying that there's been all this corruption happening in our watch. Let me also say that, yes, what is coming out of the Madlanga Commission is something that must make all of us to be worried about our security cluster, particularly the SAPS. However, we must also accept as South Africans that there are many good men and women in the SAPS. The SAPS is an organization of more than 100,000 people. And it's true that within that, there are these elements. You know, sometimes they say that a few rotten potatoes, can make the whole bag of potatoes to rot. But because we are now zooming in on these individuals, will protect the entire system. So let's not make it as if the whole of the SAPS is rotten and so on. There are good men and women out there who want to do their work, and we must protect them by getting rid of the bad elements. And this is a process we have started that's going to lead to that, to ensure that we get rid of these bad elements, protect people who are there to do their work and serve communities and serve them well. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We now go on to the member who is on the virtual platform, the Honorable Van den Berg, who has the last follow-up question on this. Honorable Van den Berg.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Deputy President, given all these
Honorable Van den Berg,
commissions...
can you please put on your video so that we can see you?
Oh my goodness, I have put it on. It is on...
No, we can't see you.
Oh my goodness, let me switch it off and on again. Anything now, perhaps?
Nope, still not on.
Oh my goodness, well, it's unlocked on my side. I absolutely don't know how to get it going. It's even displaying on my side.
All right, okay, go ahead with your question.
Thank you. Deputy President, given all these commissions, we need more information on the way forward. How will the Deputy President see that integrity and trust from the community be restored to the broader policing cluster? We are asking for more measurable timelines, if you can share that with the House, please.
Thank you, Honorable Van den Berg. Honorable Deputy President, were you able to get the full question? Because the sound went quite low.
Let me answer what I thought I heard.
Okay.
I think he was saying, how will we restore trust to communities given these revelations that are now coming out of, amongst others, obviously, the Madlanga Commission. The important thing that I can indicate is that trust will be restored when there's action, not talking. So once the President gets the reports, he will start acting to ensure that we clean up the system, we make sure that the system, tight, foolproof, and make sure that perpetrators of wrongdoing are dealt with. I think once people see that the South African Police Service is an institution that once again has brought back integrity, I think trust will be restored. So my answer really is that let us act and say to our people, we are correcting this problem, and they must see visible action. So as we act, we must be transparent, There must be reporting, communication, so people know that the government is acting and dealing with the problem. So we're going to clean up the system, and that's what we're going to do. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. That brings us to the close of that set of questions on the South African Police Services. We now move on to the third question for the day, and that is the question that deals with illegal mining in the East and West Rand. And the question was asked by the Honorable Mananiso. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. I would like to thank Honorable Mananiso for highlighting this important issue of illegal mining and its impact on our communities, including violent incidents in places like Guguletu, Sporong, informal settlements in Randfontein. Government is deeply concerned about the threat posed by illegal mining, which fuels violence, undermines the rule of law, endangers lives, and erodes the integrity of our economy. Illegal mining has evolved into a complex phenomenon often associated with transnational syndicates, illicit financial flows, undocumented migration, and the proliferation of illegal firearms. As a result, government is intensifying intelligence-driven operations under initiatives such as Operation Valumgoti. This includes the deployment of specialized units, disruption of supply chains, arrests of perpetrators and syndicate leaders, and seizure of equipment and contraband in cooperation with the National Prosecuting Authority to secure conviction. Honorable Chairperson, the JCPS cluster continuously assesses operational gaps and strengthen interdepartmental coordination. SAPS responds through a structured escalation model from station level to districts, provincial and national intervention, coordinated, as I mentioned earlier, net joints and prof joint structures. The net joints illegal mining priority committee is activated where national coordination is required and reports into the JCPS cluster. This intervention calls for coordinated action between the South African Police, the Hawks, the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, Home Affairs, and other such agencies. We are also addressing the threat posed by the infiltration of illegal and counterfeit goods, which continue to undermine South African jobs and industrial competitiveness. Through the 12-dimensional National Illicit Economy Disruption Program, government has secured funding to commence implementation of this program, which will include targeted enforcement in high-risk sectors that are experiencing major revenue losses and entrenched syndicate activity, notably illegal mining, fuel smuggling, and port-linked illicit trade. In conclusion, Honorable Chairperson, government has affirmed its commitment to combating escalating gang violence and illegal mining associated with organized crime by announcing the deployment of the South African National Defence Force to support the South African Police Service. This deployment enhances the work of net joints, which is coordinating and strengthen continuous monitoring efforts to prevent any resurgence of criminal activity. The President's directive underscores government's determination to confront these urgent challenges, and we appreciate his decisive leadership in this regard. Government remains resolute in restoring order, safeguarding communities, and ensuring that those who profit from criminality face the full might of the law. we are going to take decisive action in dealing with criminality. I thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. The first follow-up question is from the Honorable Mananiso.
Thank you, Deputy President. As a beneficiary of the deployment of SANDF, one would want to extend the appreciation from people of West Rand about the decisive action that the President could have taken in terms of deploying SANDF. Today, as I stand here, I can confirm that the people of Sporum, they are in a conducive environment. Deputy President, what progress is the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Committee, in collaboration with the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, making in ensuring that 518 abandoned and ownerless mine shafts identified in Gauteng requires closure, and as well in terms of additionally, has any action been taken against any mining company that has failed to rehabilitate an abandoned shaft? If so, what is it that has been done, and what is it that we can take trace on as government is working to ensure that everybody is brought to book and take accountability on what they have to do? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mananiso. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Honorable Mananiso, I thought you'll start by saying, Le rona re batho. Deputy Chair, that's what they say in the West Rand, that Le rona re batho. Don't forget us. Indeed, we are not going to forget you. Let me just indicate that as we take action against illegal mining, focusing on areas like the West Rand that Honorable Mananiso is talking about, work is already happening, Honorable Member. The stats I received from the Department of Minerals and Energy is that they are dealing in Gauteng with about more than 518 such openings in Gauteng alone. I mean, nationally it's more than 6,000. But the work has started because now they've identified them. Because in order to take action, you must know what you're dealing with. So at least now we have that data of where this is, where it's happening, and they are therefore able then to plan interventions on how this are going to be closed, and therefore those who are involved in illegal mining operations are going to be dealt with. The JCPS is going to continue to monitor this work, and in this regard, we will work closely with the Department of Minerals and Petroleum Resources to be able to ensure that they take action when illegality is happening. Of course, the police and the South African Defence Force are now part of this work through the net joints. So we are going to act, and not only in Gauteng, as I say, whilst in Gauteng is more than 500, the whole country is more than 6,000. So you can see how big the problem is. But I want to assure you that this work has now started, and we're going to make sure that very soon you'll be seeing boots on the ground in those areas. They are planning now their operations, and they will be descending in those areas to make sure that we get rid of this problem of illegal mining. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Duplessis.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Through you, Deputy President, illegal mining has escalated for years, increasing social ills and reaching a pinnacle in 2022 in the West Rand with the horrendous gang rape that happened in that year. The suspects were arrested, but there has not been any convictions. This is 3 years ago. Now the SANDF is being deployed again to deal with the same crisis that should have been dealt with in 2022. What effective and impactful actions has the Justice, Crime and Prevention and Security Committee achieved in the past 3 years in tackling illegal mining and the related social ills, as well as ensuring convictions of those criminals? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Duplessis. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Honorable Duplessis, indeed, one of the weaknesses in our country has been a criminal justice system that is not coordinated. And I'm sure many honorable members who know that people always complain, the police will arrest the criminal, and before you know it, the criminal gets bail, is back in the community. So our emphasis is that the criminal justice system must be integrated to show results, properly coordinated, so that one arm doesn't do this and the other one does something else. So I'm confident that the coordinated approach that we're embarking on is going to give us results. From the JCPS, we ensure that net joints have structures at the provincial level and going down, so that the security cluster must work as a team, including ensuring that the judiciary, the court system is with us, because it's important that some of these people must not just easily get bails. Like you are saying that, since 2022, we don't see prosecution or convictions. We want to close that gap to make sure that the system works. So if you ask me, how will we succeed? Proper coordination, tighter coordination, and integrated criminal justice system. It will give us the results. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Montwedi.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair. Ndate Mashatile, we must agree that you are part of government that is reactive, that has failed to proactively deal with acts of criminality, and you reply to wrongdoing through expensive commissions. In your reply, you said you are intensifying intelligence-led systems. Now, I want to find out, Deputy President, can you specifically explain why, despite numerous early warnings from residents of Guguletu and Sporong informal settlement through late 2025 and early 2026, intelligent-led interventions only gained momentum after hundreds of families were forcibly displaced by armed syndicates in January? And why have you not tabled a full forensic assessment on the collapse of early warning intelligence systems in Gauteng mining belt? Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Montwedi. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. We have intensified what we call intelligence-led approach to policing, Honorable Member, because we've realized that weakness, that police must not be reactive. We need to rely on intelligence because it will help us to be proactive, to ensure that we deal with these challenges. That's what JCPS is preoccupied with at the moment. So we will correct that weakness of the past, where policing was taking a reactive approach. Now it's always going to be intelligence-driven, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, or let me say, I agree with you as well, that there's nothing that beats intelligence-driven, because you're not shooting in the dark. You know what you're dealing with, you know where the problem is, and you can act timeously. And that's what I'm emphasizing today, that that's the approach we are taking. So we're not just going to send out all these forces out there, including the army, just in the dark. They are going to go exactly where the problem is and deal with it. So that's the approach we are taking, and I think this is the approach that will bring quick results and make sure that we don't deal with a problem 2 years later. But particularly to close the weaknesses and the gaps, because that's where the problem is, where you find that, by the time the security forces come, problems have already happened, people have been pushed out of their houses and so on. We don't want that to happen. We need to act before it happens, and the intelligence-led approach is going to assist us in this regard. Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The last follow-up question is from the Honorable Peter.
Evening, Honorable Deputy President. In light of the allegation of corruption within the security sector, currently being examined by the Madlanga Commission and other ad hoc investigative processes, don't you believe, Honorable Deputy President, that the delayed response by members of the South African Police Service to illegal mining activities in the Gugulethu and Sporolong informal settlements may have been influenced by bribery or other corrupt relationships between illegal miners and police officials? If so, what measures are being implemented to detect, prevent, and discipline corruption within the police when responding to organized criminal activities such as illegal mining? Nkosi President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Peter. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Honorable Peter, it could be a number of elements that create this problem. I would not dismiss it that bribery might be involved, because you're dealing with resources. When people are involved in illegal mining, you can imagine what they extract there. So it's possible. So what we need to do is to ensure that our coordinated approach goes deeper to look at what the problem is. Those who are doing illegal mining, obviously, they are motivated by the fact that they get these resources. But the problem is that they also have the market for it, because they don't eat gold, they sell it. And the question is, who do they sell it to? I'm sure they don't sell it in informal settlements. So you can imagine the problem. Who is buying these resources? So we need to go deeper into that question to be able, beyond the guy who's digging, where does this product go? Because you might find that there are big guys there who are involved, who are making resources available to these people, and therefore they are thriving. These other ones are just digging, they take out, but they have a market. So government investigation must be very tight, comprehensive, leave no stone unturned, and make sure we reach the problem where it is and deal with it. And of course, we accept that the delays have not been helpful. That's why, as I was answering earlier, that the intelligence-driven approach must do away with this reactive approach and the delay. Let's act quicker, but let's touch everybody. It doesn't help to touch only the guy who's digging, and you don't touch the one who's buying. We must close that market so that our resources must be sold properly, and the resources must benefit this country. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. That closes question 3. We now move on to question 4. that deals with the state of municipalities as asked by the Honorable Makasini. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Let me thank Honorable Makasini for raising this important matter. Government is aware that certain municipalities, including Ditsobotla, Mfuleni, continue to experience serious service delivery challenges, notwithstanding the Section 139 interventions. These challenges are rooted in governance instability, financial mismanagement, weak institutional capacity, but also persistent backlogs. We acknowledge that Section 139 interventions have not always yielded sustainable improvements. We accept that. Concerns about politicization and misuse are noted, and steps are being taken to strengthen oversight, professionalize municipal administration, and ensure clearer recovery and exit strategies. The absence of clean audits in municipalities under intervention reflects deep systemic weaknesses requiring long-term institutional reform. In the case of municipalities such as Ditsobotla and Mfuleni, support has included multidisciplinary teams assisting with financial recovery plans and strengthening technical capacity with the support from MISA and National Treasury. Honorable Chairperson, Section 139 remains a constitutional safeguard triggered when a municipality cannot fulfill its obligations. Uneven outcomes often reflect structural constraints, political instability, debt overhangs, skills deficits, and weak controls rather than a defect in the constitutional mechanism itself. Through the review of the white paper on local government, government will introduce measures to strengthen the local government system, including potential reforms to the funding model, enhanced technical capacity, and consideration of restructuring Section 139 interventions to improve sustainability of outcomes. As part of the DDM implementation, government continues to work with COCTA and other sector departments on targeted action plans for distressed municipalities. We also monitor targeted municipal interventions through our campaign of clean cities, towns, and villages. Together with SALGA, DDM champions in all the corridors in the country that involve ministers, we are engaging with communities and setting clear timelines for improvement. Government has taken a decision that local government must be our priority to get things right in our communities. So we are making sure that we are focusing on fixing local government, dealing with all the challenges that I have indicated, and we have started seeing some improvements in some of the areas that we are dealing with, and we will continue to report to this House the progress we are making. Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. We now move on to the follow-up question from Honorable Makasini.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Greeting, Deputy President. Thank you from the comprehensive response, DP. My issue now, I just want to check, maybe you said you have a multiple discipline that we have established in these two, especially these two municipalities. Can you be specific about what are the are the teams except the section administrators? Because I know in Ditsobotla we have administrator, I know in Mfuleni we have administrator. What national department is there and what are they doing and what are the timeframes? Because the problem of these two municipalities, including Ngedwana, has been persistent, for example. So if ungasixelela exactly what are they doing, because since the administrator for almost 4 years, 8 years in Ditsobotla, ngobani abanye, is there any national department or treasury or an other team except the MISA? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Makasini. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Thank you, Honorable Makasini. As I said earlier, we ourselves have realized that we should not only rely on Section 139 interventions, which in the main, that's when we bring administrators to come in, and we have noticed that in some of the areas we have not gotten the kind of results that we need. So what we are doing now through the DDM approach, we're bringing various other government departments, so that it's not just National Treasury. Because with 139, it's mainly National Treasury that comes in, bring an administrator there that tries to work with the municipalities. Sometimes people at that level feels that's a takeover and they don't cooperate that well. So with the DDM approach, we bring in various other departments and we focus on service delivery in the main. Whilst you're improving administration, we want to make sure that service delivery is continuing. I had an opportunity myself to visit Ditsobotla, and I found that the interventions there was beginning to show some results, but you could say that they needed more support from national government, because the mayor kept saying, look, when I was working in the city, I said, why don't you cut the grass? And he says, we don't have the equipment. We can't afford buying them. So that's where you realize that unless you bring national departments, some of your interventions are not going to be helpful. So that's what we are doing now, to say, let's use the whole of government approach. You'll see when we talk about the improvements in municipalities that it is where government has used the whole of government approach. There's great improvements in a number of these municipalities where there are problems, and we need to go back to those areas. For instance, when I came back from the West Rand, having visited Ditsobotla and other places, already in January, just before February now, I sent a team to go back to that area to do a follow-up, and they've just given me a report what next needs to be done. So we need to be there. You can't just go in and leave. Even with this Section 139, if you have an administrator, you must have a proper exit strategy that is not going to lead to a collapse once you leave. You need to make sure it's sustainable. So we are looking at those different approaches to be able to deal with the problem. Thank you, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you, Deputy President. We'll go to the next follow-up question, and that's from Advocate Nkosi Nonkanyana.
Ingqaka nensibazayo ndiphakama okokuba ndithi inkosi zam zonke mazithambe sicaka sizolile. Honorable Deputy President, as the cadres of the African National Congress, we thank you for your honest and candid response. We believe that establishing coherence and impact in service delivery across South Africa's 44 district municipalities, as well as 8 metros, requires looking beyond the number of interventions a municipality has implemented. It is about developing a multifaceted approach that focuses on the professionalization of the local government, capacity building amongst councillors, financial management, and creation of a robust government systems that foster viable municipality we all want. Deputy President, we are making progress in improving intergovernmental coordination to improve the capacity of our local government and all spheres of government to work in synergy to deliver quality basic services to communities. Are we? If so, has the government identified any ongoing challenges that lead to the same municipalities being placed under Section 139, despite numerous attempts to intervene in the worst performing areas with little notable progress? Ndiyabulela mhlali ngaphambili. Inkosi kakhulu ngokungidefisa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nonkonyana. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Mandibulele Nkosi yami. I have already indicated some of the issues that brings these challenges in our municipalities. I spoke about financial management, issues of weak administrations, but we also need to add, because Nonkonyane, that there is also some instances political instability that is brought about by tensions within the leadership of the municipalities. So it's not just the issues of financial challenges, but it's also that. So when we intervene, we also deal with that challenge, where sometimes you have a mayor that is not really supported by the team, or, somebody was telling me a story this morning that there's somewhere where the mayor just woke up and fired the city manager without even following a process. So you have challenges like those that shows problem in leadership. And that does lead to instability and dysfunctionality that we need to deal with. In some instances, you also have higher staff turnover. We have realized that, when you look at who works in municipalities, particularly your secondary cities, it's a bit problematic because the people that you need there don't want to work there. At least in the metros, you do get serious people who can work in Cape Town, Johannesburg, and the big cities. But as you go down, highly qualified people don't want to work there. So already you have a challenge there that you have to deal with. We have, of course, introduced through the DDM this one plan approach where national government and provincial governments do work with municipalities to assist to ensure quality service delivery. We hope that will assist, but we're going to have to look at the skills deficit in municipalities. How do we close that gap to ensure that your municipal managers are the right people who have the requisite skills? And as I said, some of them don't want to, work in Ditsobota or Machabeng. They want to work in the metros. And we need to look at maybe incentives, and something needs to be done to get the skills down there to help our municipalities. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Brits.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Deputy President, Mfuleni now has had 3 failed Section 139 interventions. Premier Lesufi said last month that they ran out of ideas of what to do in Mfuleni. He admitted defeat. We have repeatedly asked, especially you, to get the national government to intervene directly as envisioned in Section 139, subsection 7. This House, across the political spectrum, has repeatedly asked for the subordinate legislation envisioned in Section 139, subsection 8 to be enacted. We have seen no result. Minister Hlabisa this week spent consulting and is no closer to white paper, yet municipalities are failing. Mfuleni can't even pass its own budget. Why have you not used existing constitutional powers to step in and fix this?
Thank you, Honorable Brits. Honorable Deputy President, your response.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. It is true that Mfuleni has been a challenge for many years when it comes to issues of service delivery, water, etc. I had an opportunity also to visit Mfuleni to look at how we intervene. At the time, there was serious water problem. We resolved that, but it's quite clear that they are not out of the woods. So I agree that we need to ensure a very concerted intervention from national government. I haven't seen that statement by Premier Lessufi that they've run out of ideas. They shouldn't. It's misleading the House. No, I'm just saying that I haven't come across it, that they've run out of ideas. Perhaps the challenge quite clearly needs national government to move in decisively. And of course, we can't wait for the white paper process because problems are happening now. So we need to go out there. As part of our responsibilities in the presidency, we will go out there. Fortunately, somebody was raising the issue of Mfuleni on Monday to say there are still challenges out there. So I'm happy that it's also being raised here. One of the things, Honorable Deputy Chair, that we need to do is for the NCOP to strengthen oversight in these municipalities. I think it's going to be very important that don't just leave it to government. I think it will be important for NCOP to send a team out to Mfuleni and see why is there continuous problems there, because the Constitution allows the NCOP to be the one that should be at the forefront of intervening in these municipalities. But I take your point that let's fix Mfuleni. You can't have a problem that go year after year after year. We know that they are not a very rich municipality, but they are not also a poorer municipality. It might well be that we need to tighten up leadership, both the political and administrative leadership of Mfuleni, but we will get there. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. Now we move to the last follow-up question that comes from the Honorable Briet.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Deputy President, another white paper is not going to solve the problem with Section 139 administrations. And I don't think the NCOP even needs another oversight to tell you what the problem is with regards to these municipalities under 139 administration. And that is simple and clear. There is no political will and they do not want to do it. But getting back to your initial answer on the initial question with specific reference to Ditsobotla, you said that there will be consequence management from this multidisciplinary team, and you mentioned MISA and National Treasury specifically, but you also said that there will be financial recovery in terms of the monies there. So, Deputy President, I want to know from you, since this intervention, and as we've said today, this is not the first time they're under Section 139 administration, who has been held accountable? Has there been consequence management? Has political or officials been charged or been arrested? And how much funds has been recovered in specifically Ditsabotla and Mfuleni, these municipalities that were named? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Briet. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Yes, we have emphasized consequent management. If my memory serves me well, in the Tsobotla, there was a change of leadership politically. I recall that because my party was involved there in the leadership, and I recall that we did suggest changes there. Obviously, we need to take it further with the new leadership to look at the administration as well. Yes, the issue of financial recovery is a matter that mainly is handled by National Treasury, and they have introduced various methods to deal with it because municipalities don't pay easily. So what National Treasury does, sometimes they look at grants that need to go to a municipality, and then they withhold the grants that should go there. But they have to balance the situation because sometimes as you do that, you then hurt communities because those resources are required to serve communities. But there's various ways in which, if I may use the word punish, that National Treasury will punish a municipality that is involved in financial mismanagement and not doing its work by withholding grants. But as I said, it's a very thin balancing act because these resources are required for service delivery. But it is happening. I don't have information now. I can check it later about how many people have been prosecuted, etc. I'll need to get that information. But I know that National Treasury is very focused on that. And every end of the financial year where funds have not been used, they are rolled back to National Treasury. So, and many of the funds that go to municipalities are ring-fenced so that they can't be moved from service delivery to paying salaries, which has been one of the problems that you find in municipalities. So National Treasury ensures that grants are ring-fenced, and that once the money flows, it can only be used for what it's intended for. But we will check for you in terms of if there are any cases of people who have been charged or who have been found guilty in whatever. But as national government, we support that there must be action where there's wrongdoing, where there's weak administration, we must strengthen it, including moving people out and bringing other people who can do the work. Thank you, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. That brings us to the close of question 4. We now move on to question 5, which is in a similar vein as the previous set of questions that also deals with distressed and dysfunctional municipalities. And that question was asked by the Honorable Mslongo. Honorable Deputy President, your response.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Let me thank Honorable Mhlongo for this question. Honorable Deputy Chair, a significant number of municipalities are assessed as financially distressed and/or dysfunctional, as reflected mainly in audit outcomes, but also service delivery performance and financial indicators. According to the 2026 review by National Treasury, 162 municipalities were identified as financially distressed in the 2023-24 financial year. This is driven by poor cash flow management, inadequate revenue collection, and also rising debt, also exacerbated by almost 113 unfunded budgets and a total revenue shortfall of about 35.9 billion rand. While challenges remain significant, improvement in audit outcomes have been recorded in a number of these municipalities, and clean audits have been achieved by some of the municipalities, including Midvaal and Umgeni. Honorable Chairperson, consequence management, which is an issue that was raised earlier, is also central to accountability. COGTA is now implementing disciplinary measures, criminal investigations where necessary, and conditional allocations, or as I said earlier, with National Treasury or COGTA withholding grants. In collaboration with the SIU, government has established the Local Government Anti-Corruption Forum to strengthen coordination against corruption at provincial and municipal levels. Honorable Deputy Chair, government has also initiated enforcement measures relating to water and sanitation failures, including criminal charges against some municipalities and steps to pursue accountability of municipal managers, in particular, in respect of statutory breaches. And finally, these actions demonstrate government's commitment to stabilizing local government and ensuring that public funds are safeguarded and properly applied to service delivery to benefit our people. I thank you, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We go to the follow-up question from Honorable Mslongo.
Thank you so much, Chair, and greetings to you, Deputy President. And ngiyabonga ukuthi ke na usiphendule mhlonishwa. Amanye ama-follow-up were covered from the previous set of questions. However, I'd like to know, what does the government say in the issues of Umkhanyakude district municipalities? Communities in the area such as Jozini, Umhlabuyalingana still rely on water tankers years after large national water infrastructure budgets were allocated, despite repeated government assurance that bulk water projects will resolve the crisis. Can the Deputy President please explain why communities are still dependent on temporary tanker systems despite billions spent on water infrastructure, and who has been held accountable for the failure to deliver sustainable water supply? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mslongo. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Thank you very much. Honorable Mslongo, out of 257 municipalities, there's been a lot of work happening. Those who have flagged about 162, a lot of work has been happening now, and there's now work happening with the remaining 33 municipalities. I'm going to check whether Umkhanyakude is part of this 33. There's a report that we can share with you to look at that area, Umhlabuyalingana. So I don't have specific report on that municipalities, except that all those that are dysfunctional have been flagged and work is happening. At the moment, 33 of them, that's where work is not yet completed, and Umkanyagude might probably be one of the 33, but we will check that for you and supply you with that information. We do want, as national government, to intervene in all these municipalities, particularly those that are in rural areas, because that's where you often find problems in the rural areas where, people feel that they are forgotten. Because I'm sure, areas like Mukanyagud are very far from the urban areas, and therefore it's easy that they may be neglected. I'm happy that you've raised the applied, and we're going to especially look into it. I will, like last time, send a team out there. Last time I was in the NCOP, you'll remember, Deputy Chair, I did commit to send a team to some of the areas where there are problems, and they did go and they've given me reports. So we will need to do that, to send them out to go and see what is happening in Mukanyagud. We'll, of course, work with the province. We won't bypass them. We'll do it through the DDM approach, but we will make sure that we get out there. And not only to Mukanyagud, I will prioritize many of these rural municipalities because they tend to be forgotten. Thank you, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Masumpa.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Greetings to the Deputy President. Thank you, Deputy President, for your comprehensive reply. As this is my first time on this podium, I want to thank my party for deploying me here and assure the people of the Western Cape. And I will continue in the footsteps of the late Honorable Baines to represent the voice of the voiceless to the fullest. May her soul rest in peace. As we know that Western Cape has privileged and underprivileged people. Now, Deputy Chairperson, my question is, has government developed any mechanism to monitor compliance of municipalities within the Municipal Resolution of Minimum Competence Levels 2007, Gazette 29967, which was enacted under the Municipal Finance Management Act to establish a mandatory minimum standards of financial and supply chain management officials to improve accountability and professionalism in the municipal financial management. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Masumpa. That was your maiden speech and maiden question in the House. Thank you very much for that. Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Masumpa, for that question. Yes, indeed. As I said earlier, that when I replied that one of the critical challenges in municipalities has been the issue of strengthening financial management. So the issue of municipal regulation of minimum competency levels, which was adopted since 2007, is what we are ensuring that is implemented, because it's part of the MFMA that be done. Particularly your officials that are responsible for supply chain management, they need to have these skills to be able to do this work of financial management properly. So that's where we are focusing to ensure that the officials who are responsible for financial management within municipalities, including chief financial officers and so on, are the responsible people in the administration. So that is being done, and of course, There are minimum requirements that are set to ensure that they have the right skills to be able to do this work. We obviously drive in this work through National Treasury to ensure that this is adhered to. But most definitely, this is what we are doing. We also look at the audit outcomes, what the Auditor General is saying about these municipalities, and you find that in most cases, we do need to strengthen financial management, and that's what we are doing. Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Billy.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair. Good afternoon, Deputy President. Deputy President, could it be that you have been set up for failure? And I ask this question, Deputy President, because in the President's recent State of the Nation address, which you and I had attended in the past few weeks, the DDM was not mentioned, not once in the nearly 2-hour speech of the President. And perhaps this is an indication, Deputy President, that the President also does not view this model as central to government's program. So if that is the case, Deputy President, if the President himself is no longer prioritizing the DDM, why do you continue to push these centralized, cartel-driven projects that weaken accountability, exclude communities, and entrench elite control instead of empowering local communities and local economies? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Billy. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Honorable Billy, the President believes very strongly in the DDM approach, and he mentioned it all the time. Somebody was whispering on my left, and you? Okay, me, I'm appointed by the President to make sure it works. So, if he didn't believe it, I'm sure he would have called it and say, hey, you're wasting your time there. He has not done so. In fact, every time we meet, we talk about it to say, where should we improve? Remember, the DDM is not centralizing, it's coordination. So when we go to these areas, we don't take over. It's just that in the Western Cape, they didn't believe in it. It's fact. The DA doesn't believe in it, so they want to find fault. Centralized system. No, it's not centralized. It's coordination, the whole of government approach, pull plans together, pull resources together, and make sure that you implement as a whole of government. Now, the DDM approach does not take over. But what we do, you'll say when I come to the Western Cape, I'll be saying to them, okay, we're going to do something in Khayelitsha. Come with me. Bring your resources. I don't take over at all. I just that the DA was scared of nothing. We don't take over. What we do, we coordinate, we prioritize together, we bring resources together, we implement together, we monitor together. That's what the DDM is all about. And I can tell you, in all these other provinces, they are so happy it's working. No, it works, really. It works. So you'll see, next time the President speaks, listen carefully, he will say something about it. It does work. Thank you, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Suwisa.
No, thank you, Deputy Chair. Greetings, Deputy President. Before I start my question, we are going to make a follow-up about those rural municipalities and those that are far from the urban, and we'll hold you accountable at some point, DP, because it's a serious problem about municipalities that are very far from the urban or in the rural. Given Deputy President oversight of the district development model and the persistent collapse of local governance, can you explain why, despite the reduction of dysfunctional municipalities, there still exist so many dysfunctional municipalities across all provinces? For an example, Impendle municipality in KwaZulu-Natal has been faced with dysfunctionality for years. This despite the intervention that was recently done by the MEC of Coxstar in the province. In light of this, what urgent intervention have you taken to revive and assist municipalities such as Impendle? And secondly, how do you justify, can I be protected, Deputy Chair? Because when people speak, I don't speak. How do you justify the continued billion rand expenditure when there are still so many municipalities which remain classified as distressed? Thank you very much. Nilinde, wait.
Thank you very much, Honorable Suisa. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. I agree that as the Honorable Member is saying, we do need to focus on rural municipalities. That's what we're going to do. We will also look at Impendle. When I asked a report on municipalities, I couldn't pick up Impendle as one of the ones that have a challenge, or one of those that we're still doing work on, because as I said earlier, if you take the 257 municipalities, those that were flagged out or flagged were 162, and work is still happening in 33, and it might well be that for some reason that report was not included, because when I looked at what work is happening in KZN, the report was 0, but it may be that that report has not come through. If you're saying that there are still a number of municipalities in KZN, particularly in rural areas, like we spoke earlier about KwaMhlabu Yalingana. We will look at Impendle and see what the challenges are there, because we don't want a situation where there's perpetual dysfunctioning, as you are saying, that we are intervening, but Impendle, there is no sign of recovery. So it means it's one of the municipalities that we must then follow up on as we looking at these rural areas and see what the challenges are. I know particularly that in the rural areas, people also do have, when we talk about the problem of water, you find it in those areas. So people have challenges there, and we're not going to forget them. So I assure you that we will also send a team out there to Impendle to make sure that it's not left behind. Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. That brings us to the close of question 5. We now move on to question 6, that deals with abandoned, incomplete water infrastructure projects. And the question was asked by the Honorable Mabebo. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Let me thank Honorable Mabebo for raising this issue of water that has now become a crisis in many of our communities. The sustainable supply of water remains a national priority. The Water Task Team has assessed the impact of abundant or incomplete water infrastructure projects and confirmed that delays have reduced water availability, weakened the system reliability, compromised water security, and affected environmental compliance in many respects. In order to address these challenges, long outstanding grant-funded projects have now been identified and prioritized for accelerated completion. Government has also taken steps to reprioritize funding to ensure delayed projects that are finalized and water systems to be stabilized. In Gauteng, for instance, where severe interruptions have been experienced over the last 2 months, the President delegated the ministers and deputy ministers of water and sanitation and COCTA to undertake oversight engagement with the leaders of the province and those municipalities. There are a number of steps that they have already taken. One was approval of increased abstraction from the integrated Vaal river system in order to assist rainwater in restoring reservoir levels, because there were a number of reservoirs that were quite low because of lack of supply from the Vaal river system. Secondly, coordination of demand reduction measures and enforcement of restrictions. In some municipalities, there have been restrictions on how water should be used. That, of course, is a competency of the municipality, but the ministers had to make sure that they attend to that. And the third one was acceleration of leak reduction and infrastructure repairs, supported by programs aimed at improving ring-fencing of water revenues and long-term sustainability. There is a challenge in many municipalities of water leaks, and it leads to the loss of the revenue water because of leaks that happen because infrastructure is either not repaired or there's old infrastructure that has not been changed. The Department of Water and Sanitation has further advised those municipalities in Gauteng to strengthen water restrictions, reduce losses through leaks, repair, pressure reduction, and invest in additional storage and pumping capacity. On the 20th of February, I visited, together with Premier Lesufi, Mayor Dada Morero, the Carlswald Reservoir construction site and the Grand Central Water Tower in Midrand. This 20 million litre reservoir is set for completion in July next year to support long-term supply stability. In addition, the private sector is also constructing a 10 million litre reservoir in the same area, which will assist to increase water supply. Government is implementing practical measures also in other provinces, including the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and the Western Cape, focusing on accelerating bulk water projects, reducing non-revenue water, as I said earlier, but also ensuring emergency supply interventions and strengthened intergovernmental coordination. And finally, Chairperson, President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced the establishment of a National Water Crisis Committee chaired by himself to address severe shortages, infrastructure failures, and municipal performance challenges across the country. I will soon be visiting the other provinces, including Limpopo, where communities are experiencing severe water shortages, in order to attend to those challenges. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We go to the first follow-up question from Honorable Mabebo.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson. Deputy President, South Africa's hotels network face increasing sabotage by criminal syndicate known as hotel mafias. They are destroying infrastructure and exploiting tanker contracts, profiting from people's desperation. Additionally, floods have had a complex, paradoxical or contradictory effect on the water crisis facing our people, as they worsen water scarcity by damaging water infrastructure and contaminating existing water sources. What progress is the water task team making in collaboration with all relevant departments to ensure the development of climate-resilient water infrastructure in our communities and the implementation of mechanisms that leverage nature-based solutions such as wetland restoration and invasive plant removal to enhance water security and catchment yield?
Thank you, Honorable Mabebo. Honorable Deputy President, your response to that?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Ke a leboga, Morena Mabebo. What we are doing currently as national government is really to ensure that we tighten policy reforms to deal particularly with that problem, because we know that in order to build resilient water infrastructure, we must ensure that the system is working very well. So this is a work that Operation Vulindlela is doing, working with the Department of Water and Sanitation. We are ensuring that these reforms attend to these challenges. We have seen that in some instances, in many municipalities where there is a challenge of water, as you say, there are these water tanker mafias that creeps in because they profit for them. In fact, the President indicated recently that where there are challenges of water, government itself must have its own water tankers. So we have agreed that as government we must buy these trucks so that it is government that intervenes where there are challenges. Because there'll always be challenges. For instance, if you have, let me take an example, if Rand Water is maintaining some of their pipes, they do switch off for a period. It could be 2-3 days. When that happens, government must then supply people through water tankers. And don't bring these private people because we've seen the exploitation of communities. In some instances, I remember when I was a year or two ago in the Northwest with the President, we got a report that some of these water tanker mafias do sabotage infrastructure so that they can be called to come and supply. So we must close that market so that people must not think there's a big market there to supply water and even sabotage infrastructure. So the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency will be dealing with tightening all these reforms to ensure that we stabilize this sector. Thank you very much, Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Badenost.
Deputy President, water is life. The saying is very simple for a reason. The President has tasked you to be the chair of the water task team to ensure that persistent water challenges are addressed. Now, in his State of the Nation address last month, the President indicated that a National Water Crisis Committee is going to be set up, and he himself will be the chair of that committee. So now the question begs, Deputy President, has the President lost all faith in you to do your duties, your assigned powers and functions as Deputy President? In other words, has the President placed a vote of no confidence in the Deputy President to solve our water issues? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Barnos. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Honorable Barnett, no, that's not the case. Remember that the National Crisis Committee on Water would not be the first one. Most of these national crisis committees are headed by the President. And once there's a crisis committee, it means the resources must also be provided. But the reason the President did that is because if you look at areas like Gauteng, where we have been as a water task team, we have looked at the challenges, but the challenges were escalating. So we thought to have a crisis committee that will bring in Treasury and all these relevant departments will assist to deal with the problem. I will still be part of it because the water task team will continue with its monitoring role, going to provinces, but we do need this structure that the President will assist to bring resources to bear in provinces and municipalities where there's a big crisis. It's an intervention that once things work in those areas, we will continue to monitor progress, ensure that there are intervention. So we work very well with the President. We are coordinating. And when he came up with this idea, we were sitting together. So he's got my support. Yes, thank you, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Machabeni.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Greetings to Deputy President. Before I chip into my question, we cannot run away, Deputy President, that water losses are caused by aging infrastructure. No one is responsible for that. Even those who dealt with water and sanitation. So it needs a full attention, the issue of aging infrastructure. Also, Deputy President, it is concerning to note how the water crisis is worsened across all provinces, not only because of drought, but because of a failure to complete critical infrastructure, as you mentioned before, that identification of grants. Can you please provide a detailed report on the steps which you have taken to resolve the persistent failure of the Gqeberha and Nelson Mandela Bay supply chain in particular? And what timeframes have you put in place for the water task team to complete its full assessment of the negative impact of delayed projects on the current water crisis? I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Machabeni. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Honorable Machabeni, I can't agree more with you that aging infrastructure is one of the culprits that leads to water losses in most of our municipalities. So we have identified that. And there may be a number of reasons why that may, amongst others, municipalities would like raising the issue of funding, that they don't have enough money, etc., etc. And in some instances, lack of long-term planning. I was happy when I was in Gauteng because in Carlsworld, where they took me to, where they are building a new reservoir. They said to me, once it starts operating, together with, this was a 20 million liter one and the 10 million liter by the private sector, they said that will give them guaranteed supply for the next 20 years. So you can see that there's long-term planning, and we need to see more of that, where municipalities plan for a number of years ahead when they deal with infrastructure. Failure to complete projects, one of the things that we've identified. I did say in my response that one of the things we're intervening on now is to ensure that those projects are completed, because most of them are funded. So we're going to make sure that they are completed and to ensure that all critical infrastructure that is out there is brought to completion. You mentioned problems in Gqeberha and Nelson Mandela Bay. I don't have information on those two right now about what exactly the problem is. When I was in the Eastern Cape recently, the problems were in Kunu, where we've now intervened, and there may be one other place as well. We will check this one to see what the problem is there. Because in some of the areas, people use boreholes for water, which is fine, particularly in rural areas where it's difficult to get critical infrastructure too. We do support the use of boreholes, but we will check those as well and see exactly what the problem is there. Once again, I think it's probably one of the rural areas in Gqeberha that maybe is affected, the Nelson Mandela Bay. But as I said earlier in my reply, that rural areas are going to be our priority when we deal with infrastructure, including water infrastructure. I thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The last follow-up question is from the Honorable Mslongo.
Thank you so much, Chair. Deputy President, thank you for your responses, but I'd like to know, given the prolonged delays, escalating cost, and findings of irregular procurement in the Guyana bulk water projects, what specific interventions has the Deputy President implemented to ensure full project completion within a revised time frame, consequence management for officials and contractors implicated in the mismanagement, and and sustainable water supply for all affected villages? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mslongo. Honorable Deputy President, your response.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. I did visit Limpopo in 2024, and one of the areas I went to was Guyana and looked at the projects around Mopani. There is a dam there called Nandoni Dam in that area, which supplies water to most of the villages. One of the things that we found was the challenge of reticulation, which you do get in many areas where the dams are full, but water is not reaching communities. So we are intervening in Limpopo. We're going to go back there. I know that there was a big projects implemented in Limpopo in around those areas. I think it was not even the last administration. It's probably a few years back, which was not completed. That matter is being attended to, but what we decided to do in the new administration is to intervene, of course, where they stopped. Because there was a lot of work done to get water to the areas, but the project did not complete reticulation. It was just a bulk water supply. which was okay, bulk water supply, but then the water ends there, stuck in the dam, it doesn't reach the areas. That's what we are unlocking in Limpopo. But because of the vastness of the province, you're not going to rely on getting bulk supply water to many of the villages, so you need to also improvise with ensuring that you can get underwater through boreholes. So we are encouraging that, and we're going to help communities as government to utilize that method because of the problem of vastness, where I'm sure many members will know that when you get to rural areas, you have a house here and another house is 5 kilometers away and so on. So it becomes very costly for municipalities to put in pipes to get water to each and every home. Sometimes they centralize it, so everybody goes and get water one place and so on. But we are there in Limpopo, and we are going to make sure that we don't leave them behind. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. I can now release you from the podium, and you may take your seat. Thank you very much for engaging with those questions that were put to you.
Thank you.
Honorable delegates, I would like to thank the Deputy President, all MECs, all permanent and special delegates for availing themselves for the sitting. Before I conclude for the day, honorable delegates, I would like to urge you all to sign the condolence book that is in the Queen's Hall if you have not done so already. And that condolence book is for the first chairperson of the NCOP, who passed on recently, Honorable Lakota. And the Deputy President also signed the condolence book earlier.